So we're going to talk about today 3 steps to transforming into a leader that rockstar contractors work for. This is a pretty interesting concept when you really think about it, like that I have to transform in order to attract great people. I did not learn this. It took me about 5 years to have this deep understanding of that. If you want to have better people working for you, you have to become a better person yourself. You'll only attract the contractor that's to the level of where you are as a person. And we might think we're great people and our family loves us and we're always awesome, but that doesn't always necessarily make us great leaders and have the ability to not think about ourselves and think about others. Because most of the time we just think about us, right? We're like, oh, okay, well, and we also think that if we just hire the contractor, that they'll just do it all for us. But in construction, obviously, if you want to hire great people, well, they tend to want to work with people who have a clue. One of the biggest complaints that all contractors gives me, and one of the things I've heard them tell me many times why they like working with me, they're like, Mike, I like working with you because you know what's going on. Like you kind of know how it is. And I'm like, totally. But the reason I know how it is I got in there with a hammer. I put on my boots and, try at least faked it until I made it and just try to learn some stuff. I got Home Depot books back when there wasn't YouTube, and I would read about plumbing and different stuff. And still today, I've read those books and I still don't understand plumbing. Other than some basic stuff, it's very complicated. And electric, geez, I realized how smart I wasn't when I started trying to learn like electric and they started talking about all the codes. But like how to install a door, how to install cabinets or do tile or flooring or paint, those things are much simpler and you can get a really good understanding of those. And you'd be surprised that once you understand those things, contractors, and they start having that conversation with you and you're very confident around it, they instantly identify you as being someone who's like an expert or someone who often knows what they know. And when someone is a subcontractor who's willing to work more affordably, well, they want to know that they're not working for someone. Now, when we know nothing, we tend to want to go to a GC because we're like, oh, well, the GC will know the things I don't know. The problem is when they know the things you don't know, well, you never really know if they're ripping you off. You don't know if they're doing it efficiently. They could come in and be like, there's this huge problem, man. And like, it's going to cost so much money. And we found it behind the wall. And you just won't know if we're telling the truth or not. It's much like when your mechanic says you need this, and they found like I think like 2020 did an investigation, and mechanics were just completely ripping women off because women didn't know. And I was like thinking I probably got ripped off too because I don't know. I mean, like at least Stellantis changes spark plugs, but I've never even opened up my hood. I don't actually think I even know how to open a hood up on my car. I don't know why I would ever have to open it up. I get the oil changed by someone else. So, I mean, I guess if I ever need to do that, I could YouTube it. The point is, I know nothing. So I'm probably going to get ripped off by someone doing work for me. But that's not my business. So I don't really need to become a mechanic in order because most of my cars are fairly new and they don't really need a lot of work. That's one of the reasons I like having cars that aren't like 20 years old because I don't want to have to deal with mechanics because I don't know enough about it. Now, with that being said, if we're going to have a business that really revolves around being great at construction, then we do need to understand it. And I've never met anyone who was running a great business and had great contractors that they enjoyed working with, who didn't understand the numbers and didn't have a standard that they went by and weren't willing to, quickly get the basics down. So when I say be an expert, you can become or start to sound like an expert in just a few months. Like if you literally were just to take every one of these line items on a job and to learn about that line item as you do it. So let me give you a great example. Somebody's starting a new house and they're like, you know what? I don't know a lot, but my first step is I'm just basically going to do like the demo. Okay. Now I don't really know how demo works. I don't know. Should I demo this? Should I not demo that? I don't really know. Well, here's what I would recommend, obviously having a conversation with me, and then we could start talking about like, this is what the cost of demo is. Here's what some of my higher level students are doing is they're walking into a house and I'm telling them, okay, it's about $1,000. Go create an ad, then do a quick video where you say, hey, here's what we need to do. And then get pretty descriptive in the ad that we want to tear out the bathroom and tear out this much flooring. 2 walls are going to come down that are 12-foot long each. And here's what we're looking to do. If you want more details, I have a video link that you can go watch that I put on YouTube. And call me if you think that pricing makes sense. It's working every single time when we put that out to the funnel. It works really well. The secret is that you have to start to learn a little bit about it. Now, I can promise you when it comes to like demo and it comes to all the stuff that's easier, you could literally do a deep dive into any one of those topics and learn it over a weekend or learn it over a week even. And the first time you hire it out, the first time you manage it, you're going to feel a lot more confident around it, right? So if you don't understand demo, then what you do is you dive into it. And I dive into things by watching YouTube videos, by, just learning about it in general, by talking to me, obviously coming to the group and asking questions and saying, Mike, what do you do with demo? Do you normally get rid of this? You can watch that whole video we did with Samira's house where we talked about the things we saved. That's a big part of demo, is knowing what to demo, what not to demo, right? Because contractors are really big on like, let's just tear it all out, right? It'd be easier. That's one of their famous words. Well, it's easier just to tear it all out. Well, sure, it's easier, but the question is it cheaper not to? And the answer is it's always cheaper not to. So we have to be a leader in that, because if we let them tear everything apart, then, we're going to be in a position where we have to pay a lot more money, right? We have to foot the bill for all the damage they've done. So it's really important to learn about it. So what I did strategically over my first flip was, every time I had something I didn't understand, I dove into it. I went and got a book. I talked to people. I was very curious with the contractor. Well, how does this work? Tell them, walk me through the process. If I got 2 or 3 estimates, I would do that with 2 to 3 people. And by the time I was done talking to 2 to 3 contractors, I started feeling like I understood it. There was a time, the first foundation I did, I had no clue. I have no understanding what even a foundation looks like. I've never seen anything like it. I got about 11 estimates in over like a day or two. And I really put a lot of time into this because it was a really big problem, how foundation was caving. And by the time I was done talking to those people over a couple of days and, asking people questions, going on, I could go on YouTube at this time and just, go online and look it up. I started, like, at one point I almost thought I could do the foundation myself. I almost got cocky. I was like, man, I might just do this myself for like all the money they were talking about. I had estimates as high as 55K and I ended up getting it done for like 10 or 11K, right? Going off memory, but it was very affordable in comparing. So it ended up being one of the biggest deals that I'd ever made money on, because the reality was that I got the owners to take 55K off the price. And, I only cost me 10K to fix the problem. So I became an expert of foundations. I obviously I can't even start to explain to you how many deals I was able to do over the years because I have an understanding of foundations. Because, I mean, wouldn't you agree that most people, when they see a really big foundation problem, they're probably going to run, right? Or they're going to say, okay, I can deal with it, but that's like 20K. But what if I look at it and know it's only 10K? Would I be more likely to win if I was making an offer 10K higher because I could get the work done cheaper? The answer is yes, obviously. It's always going to be, I'm making a higher offer, I have a better chance of winning. So this is where I would say that 2 days of my life that I put into learning about foundations really paid off big time. I obviously made $104,000 or $405,000 on that deal. So just on that one deal, was it worth, I mean, that was a 40K deal that turned into a 105K deal. Was it worth me sitting and figuring out, like, what a foundation is, what it isn't, learning everything about it? Of course it was, because that deal, my partner, and obviously it was a really fun time for me, but he was like, we shouldn't do this deal. I think we're making a mistake. And I was like, dude, just give me a couple days and I'll get the answers. If I think like this deal sucks and this is too dangerous, I'll be honest and I won't do it. I'm not just trying to do the deal. And he's like, okay, I trust you. So when I came back and I was highly knowledgeable about it, my partner was willing to invest. And he's like, but I hope you understand what we're getting into. He was super nervous. And obviously it made sense that he would be nervous because it was a foundation and he didn't understand it. But I got more confident over a couple of days where I was able to like really push through my fears and make a good decision. Then I got to do, the I told you so when we were cashing the 105K check. And he's like, yeah, I love you as a partner. You're the greatest guy ever. Like, I know. Because sometimes, I put a lot of work in. I mean, I really did I was there like all day for like 2 days, and it was definitely a lot of work. But these are the kind of things that will allow you to get really smart over time. So the lesson I learned there is I became an expert on that one piece. But throughout a job, there's somewhere between 35 to 40 line items. And if you can actually learn every line item to be really fairly knowledgeable or have a basic understanding of it, in one flip, you can go from being like, I know nothing about construction, I don't know if this goes this way or that way, to being like, I have an understanding and I'm on my way to like feeling like an expert. But more importantly, most people probably think you know what you're doing. So now instantly the people look at you and they respect you and they treat you very differently, right? And that's the secret, because they think you know. Now you might actually not know a lot, right? You might just have a basic understanding, but when you have some confidence around it, it shows, and contractors talk to you differently and they give you better prices. That's just the bottom line. That is true, that if they think you know what's going on, they're going to give you a better price than if they think you don't know what's going on. Because see, if you don't know the work, then you don't know the cost, right? You don't know how to tell them sometimes when they're like, I'm at 6K, you don't know how to explain to them they should be at 3. So that's the big thing.